Three young men are on their way to a party when they get stuck in a massive traffic jam. With no other option, they decide to follow an alternate route suggested by Google Maps. A few minutes into the drive, they hit a dead end, a gated entrance leading into an upscale residential complex. By chance, they run into a woman driving a red sports car who appears to be one of the residents. After they explain that they are visiting a friend inside, she kindly opens the gate for them, and they drive into the neighborhood. They had no idea what they had just entered. This is the gates. After wandering around for a while, they find the exit gate, but it is locked. With no way out, they try asking nearby residents for help. Strangely, no one is willing to assist them. Most people act indifferent, brushing them off completely. Eventually, they spot the same red car from earlier and decide to approach the large, luxurious house it belongs to, hoping the woman might help them again. The three young men are Tyan, Kevin, and Derek, but instead of getting help, they accidentally witness something horrifying. Inside the house, a man brutally attacks the woman, knocking her to the ground. In that moment, the man notices them. Without hesitation, Tyan and his friends turn and run as the man chases after them. After being spotted and nearly shot, Derek and the others manage to escape. They try to contact the police, but as expected, the signal suddenly drops. Things get even worse when two armed men appear and start shooting at them, forcing them to run again. Eventually, Derek and his friends hide inside a resident's garage, staying there until things calm down a bit. Meanwhile, the man responsible for the attack is revealed to be Jacob. He stands over the woman's body, clearly shaken, though their relationship remains unclear. Realizing that Derek and the others are now witnesses, Jacob quickly leaves to hunt them down. Just across from the garage where the boys are hiding, Jacob runs into a neighbor who mentions reports about three unfamiliar teenagers entering the area. The neighbor simply warns him to stay alert, unaware of what is really happening. Not long after Jacob leaves, Derek and his friends are suddenly startled when the homeowner turns on the lights. The man is Christopher, an elderly man who lives alone and seems very different from the other residents. Without wasting any time, Derek explains what they just witnessed, the woman being killed, and asks if they can use the phone to call the police. Inside Christopher's house, Tyan, who is a football athlete, notices a collection of trophies. It turns out Christopher used to be an athlete himself. After sitting down for a moment and being offered a drink, Derek and the others quickly explain how they ended up in the neighborhood, including the moment they witnessed the killing. But the moment they mention the largest and most luxurious house, Christopher suddenly stands up. He reveals that the man they are talking about is Jacob, a pastor and the leader of the entire community. Almost instantly, Christopher becomes furious. He grabs a pistol and points it at them. In response, Tyan shows his cross necklace, trying to prove they are telling the truth. But instead of believing them, Christopher calls Jacob and reports that the three boys are inside his house. Luckily, Tyan and his friends act fast, overpower Christopher and making a run for it. When they try to escape through the front door, they see Jacob already approaching the house. With no other choice, they flee through the backyard, where they are forced to deal with an aggressive dog. Somehow, they manage to jump over the fence and escape. While Derek and the others continue hiding, Christopher reports everything they told him. Deep down, he refuses to believe their story. It is hard for him to accept that someone like Jacob, a respected pastor and community leader, could commit murder. Still, there is a hint of doubt in his expression, and he decides to call the local police. Not long after, a young officer named Bobby arrives. He is familiar with Jacob and the people in the neighborhood. In front of Bobby and Christopher, Jacob uses his position to twist the story. He makes it seem like Derek and his friends are just lost teenagers who need guidance. Because of that, Jacob convinces Bobby to hand the three boys over to him. As Jacob and Bobby leave to search for them, Christopher follows his dog into the backyard and finds something unexpected. It is Tyan's cross necklace, which had been dropped earlier. Engraved on it is Tyan's real name. This discovery shocks Christopher, because it means Tyan was telling the truth. That raises a troubling question. If Tyan was honest, then why would he lie about Jacob being a killer? At the same time, Jacob and Bobby continue their search. Jacob eventually finds the car belonging to Derek and his friends, and inside he discovers Tyan's phone that had been left behind. Cutting back to Derek and the others, they are still hiding when they notice a house hosting a dinner gathering. This sparks a disagreement. Derek wants to approach the house and ask for help, but Tyan and Kevin strongly disagree. In the end, Derek decides to go alone, hoping he can at least borrow a phone to contact the police. When he enters, his unfamiliar face immediately draws attention. It is clear he does not belong, and the people inside quickly shut him down. Just as he is about to leave, he notices a middle-aged woman who seems different from the others. Unlike the rest, she is kind. She invites him inside and even offers him a change of clothes. Instead of revealing everything right away, Derek starts by asking about Jacob. While looking at the woman's phone, he discovers something unexpected. Jacob already has a wife. Not only that, his wife is a public official, a council member who is currently out of town. That raises a disturbing question. If Jacob is married, then who was the woman he attacked earlier? The woman goes on to explain how the entire neighborhood was built. It all started with Jacob's vision to create a tightly controlled community that follows strict religious principles. By reciting verses he had memorized, he attracted wealthy followers and eventually became the central figure of this community. Even though Derek knows she will struggle to believe him, he finally tells her the truth about the murder. Deep down, she seems shaken, but she refuses to accept it. Admitting it would threaten everything the community has built over the past 10 years. Still, out of concern, she agrees to call the police, then asks Derek to leave the house. A few minutes later, Bobby arrives while searching the area and spots Derek sitting by the roadside. Without hesitation, he takes Derek into the car, intending to bring him straight to Pastor Jacob. Shifting over to Tyan and Kevin, the two decide to keep moving and end up crossing paths with a girl at a birthday party. Just like them, she is not part of the community and is desperate to leave. Unfortunately, she is being held back by a guy who has a crush on her. Tyan steps in, confronts the guy, and forces him to reveal the gate access code. Once they have what they need, Tyan takes him down, and the three of them quickly make their escape. But just as they are about to leave, Tyan and Kevin spot something alarming. Derek is being taken away in a police car. The girl points out that the vehicle is heading in the opposite direction of the exit. Realizing something is wrong, Tyan and Kevin decide to stay and go after Derek instead. At the same time, Derek is brought to Jacob's house, where Bobby hands him over as requested. However, because of the serious accusation Derek made earlier, Bobby insists on searching the house to follow proper procedure. Once inside, Derek immediately shows him the spot where the woman was attacked. But something does not add up. The body's gone, and so is every trace of evidence. Certain that Jacob must have moved the body, Derek urges Bobby to search the entire house. While the officer is doing just that, Jacob calmly produces Derek's jacket, along with his wallet, which had been left behind in the yard. From the ID inside, Jacob now knows Derek's home address. He uses this to pressure Derek, making it clear that things will only get worse if he refuses to stay quiet. Jacob then shifts the situation, showing Derek a model of a church he plans to build in the community. He presents it as part of a larger vision, one he believes he was chosen to fulfill. In his mind, anyone who stands in the way of that vision becomes a threat. The woman he attacked is framed as nothing more than an obstacle that had to be removed. With his persuasive nature, Jacob tries to pull Derek into understanding just how important his mission is. After finishing the search, Bobby is asked to head out and continue looking for Derek's friends. Not long after, Christopher arrives holding Tyan's cross necklace. He is confused about why the boys were honest about their real names. But Jacob quickly dismisses him, suggesting that Christopher is simply drunk and has misunderstood everything about the situation. As they step outside the house, they notice the same red car still parked right in front of Jacob's place. Derek immediately points it out to the officer. Jacob casually claims he has no idea who the car belongs to. Keeping up the act, he pretends to check the vehicle and suddenly finds a remote that can open the main gate. The moment the gate opens, Kevin sees his chance and hits the gas, speeding out of the complex. The officer reacts instantly, chasing after him with Derek still in the car. What follows is a tense pursuit that eventually forces Kevin and Tyan into a dead end. Out in a quiet, isolated area, Tyan and Kevin have no choice but to comply when the officer orders them to surrender. Not long after, Jacob arrives and tells the officer to check the trunk of their car. And just like that, the woman's body is found inside. It is clear this was all part of Jacob's plan to frame them, but then something unexpected happens. As the officer examines the body, he realizes the woman still has a pulse. She is alive. The moment he calls for medical help, Jacob starts to panic. If she survives, everything will fall apart. Without hesitation, he shoots the officer from behind and turns his attention to Derek and the others, determined to eliminate every witness. Before things can spiral further, Christopher arrives just in time and exposes the truth. Recognizing the woman, he reveals that she is a new member of the church. It becomes clear that Jacob had been secretly involved with her, and when she threatened to expose their relationship, he chose to silence her. Tension rises as everyone turns their weapons on each other. Jacob targets Kevin, Derek aims at Jacob, and Christopher points his weapon at Derek. Realizing his reputation is collapsing, Jacob makes one last move and shoots Christopher. Even after being struck and thrown aside, Jacob somehow survives and manages to escape. Seeing Christopher down, Derek and his friends focus on getting the injured woman to the hospital. Once she is in safe hands and receiving treatment, the three of them finally return home, with Derek getting dropped off first. Not wanting to leave him alone, Tyan decides to stay the night. But the moment they step inside, they are met with an unsettling surprise. Jacob is already there, keeping Derek's mother and sister from leaving. Jacob's reason for being there soon becomes clear. He is desperate to find out where the woman has been taken. If she regains consciousness and begins talking, the image he has built as a respected pastor could completely fall apart. When Derek refuses to cooperate, Jacob reacts harshly, trying to pressure him into speaking. Before Jacob can get the answers he wants, authorities suddenly arrive. The moment he realizes this, he quickly leaves the area. He exits through the back and heads toward his car in the parking area. But officers are already nearby, including Kevin, who recognizes Jacob's vehicle and immediately alerts the others. Knowing he is cornered, Jacob tries one last time to manipulate the situation. He leans on his words, using religious verses to influence the officers, hoping to stop them from acting against him. But it no longer works. As he attempts to flee, more police units arrive, and a shootout breaks out. Jacob is finally taken down on the spot after making one last attempt to fire at Kevin. With that, the nightmare finally comes to an end. And for Tyan, Kevin, and Derek, life is able to return to normal once again.